So, as we all know, one of the most popular things to do with Armed Forces Day throughout the country has always been the Red Arrows and their amazing aerial displays. Now, the intention for the Armed Forces Day national event in Scarborough was that we were going to have a children's parade this year, which obviously can't happen, but we always wanted to start that parade with a young person's version of the Red Arrows. So we designed a version of a costume that could be worn by a young person based on the BAE Hawk as a shortened version. We got that fiberglassed and then passed this on to members of the community to help us start paper macheing it.
We worked with lots of different members of our community and we started layering the fiberglass mould with paper mache. Each Red Arrow takes 6 layers of paper mache which needs to dry, and then finishing off with the final coat of red tissue paper. Now, as you can see, this is a quickened up version of one being made in the community settings.
Usually one of these, if we have a large group of people, could take anything up to 2 to 3 days to paper mache. As you'll find out later on, the eventual one, some of them took much longer than that, because the lockdown occurred after we'd built only one of our Red Arrows. So from that point on, we decided we wanted to complete the project. So Dawn and I continued making these Red Arrows as a team of 2.
Once we'd paper mache'd them, you then had to let it dry and then take it off the mould.
Each of these individual parts has obviously been made separately. It was taking us roughly a week to paper mache each Red Arrow, and then we would take them apart like this, pop them back together with a bamboo framework inside to give them extra strength. This is where we're gluing on things like the air vents and all of the different sections before reattaching the piece with bamboo inside it to make sure it's nice and strong.
As you can see, the bamboo frame's going in, and we attach the frame to the paper mache mould, and then we realign and join them with tape to make sure that they line up properly.
And the tape we're using, you might think we're using quite a bit, but this is totally biodegradable tape. It's a version of masking tape, not quite the same. We then attach the wings. Again, these have got bamboo in them so that if they get a little bit of a dink or anything like that, they're going to stay nicely attached. We do the same with the tail as well.
And then once everything's attached, we add in the end vent and finish off with the final layer of red tissue paper and cellulose glue to cover up all the joining. And a final layer would take probably about 2 hours to make.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably around 2 hours. Takes a bit of a time. Obviously we're speeding everything up here, and you can see eventually we end up with 10 lovely shiny red jets, but they don't quite look like Red Arrows yet. So what we need to do is then design all of the different stickers and all of the different designs that will go on the outside of them that make them so distinctive. Each of these has to be applied by hand. Now, we had more than 620 individual stickers, all of which we have to make and then cut out, ready for application to the Red Arrows. And this takes quite some time.
The markings are used with white vinyl, which helps. It's like sticky back plastic that you peel and stick off, and then once it's stuck on and we're happy, and we worked on the undersides first and then varnished over the vinyls to make sure that they wouldn't come off.
Now, it has to be said, we wouldn't normally use plastics and thing in a design of this sort, but we know that these Red Arrows need to last a good long time. We're making them a year in advance of hopefully getting these in front of the public. So these are certainly not going to be a one-use piece of art. They're going to be out several times, we imagine. Now here you can see us adding the distinctive stripes and the Union Jack motif and the roundels to the side. And then we get onto the really tricky bit, which is of course the lettering.
Each one is peeled by hand, lined up, and then we slowly place it on. And once you've done one side, you continue on to the next side. So this is them lined up in our workshop.
And then of course comes the task of bringing them down onto the beach. So each one of the red arrows has been placed in storage for a few days. We then disinfect each of them using antibacterial wipes, and we load them very carefully onto our van. So at this point, no human hands are touching the jets. Now, as to be said, the reason we varnish them is we live in Yorkshire. We know the weather can do all sorts of different things. Anybody who lives here knows that. We prepare for the worst possible weather. These jets now are completely waterproof, so should it rain, should it hail, should it snow, they'll still be absolutely fine. Now, when it comes to the event next year, we will be getting these red arrows out on display. They will be parading. There will be the opportunity to see these live. Obviously on film, this is as close as we can get you to them at the moment, but I assure you, you're going to really enjoy them when you see them up close and personal, because they really do make all the difference when you see them live, I think.
And marked up on the beach we had smoke trails, and rather than smoke we were using ribbon, and as a nod to the key workers and national health we used rainbow colours rather than the traditional red, white and blue. As you can see, they're in their famous arrow formation.
And they did a tremendous job. They all went back home and hopefully stopped off for a very well-deserved ice cream. Well, we hope that's given you some sort of clue as to the kind of work that goes into making one of these pieces. Do look out over the next year for all sorts of different sculptures, not only the pieces that are being made by the young people around the area, but you'll also see some of our larger statues as well. And we look forward to seeing you as part of the Armed Forces Day national event in 2021.